What does it mean to speak faith instead of speaking what you see in your current situation? This question goes to the very heart of spiritual living. Most people are trained from childhood to speak only what they see, what they feel, and what they can measure. If the situation looks bad, they say it is bad. If the circumstances seem impossible, they declare defeat. But speaking faith is a completely different way of living. It is choosing to speak based on God's promises rather than visible evidence. When you speak only what you see, you limit your life to the natural realm. For example, if someone looks at an empty bank account and says, "I will always be poor," they are reinforcing the reality of lack. If a person feels pain in their body and says, "I will never recover," they are agreeing with the condition instead of believing for healing. The natural mind simply reports facts. But faith does more than report facts. It transforms them. Speaking faith does not mean denying reality. It means refusing to let reality have the final word. There is a difference between acknowledging a problem and surrendering to it. You can say, "Yes, this situation is difficult," but at the same time declare, "God is greater than this challenge." Faith introduces a higher truth into your circumstances. It brings heaven's perspective into an earthly situation. To speak faith, you must first know what God has said. Faith is not positive thinking alone. It is confidence rooted in divine promises. When you fill your heart with God's word, your mouth will begin to reflect it. Instead of saying, "I am alone," you will say, "God is with me." Instead of declaring, "There is no way," you will proclaim, "God will make a way." The difference may seem small in words, but it is enormous in spiritual impact. Your words carry creative power. Every time you speak, you are shaping your inner world. Negative speech strengthens fear, doubt, and hopelessness. Faith-filled speech strengthens courage, trust, and expectation. When you repeatedly declare what God has promised, you build spiritual confidence inside yourself. Over time, that confidence influences your decisions, your attitude, and even the opportunities you pursue. Speaking faith also changes how you endure trials. If you constantly talk about how terrible your life is, your heart becomes heavy and discouraged. But when you speak faith, even in hardship, you maintain hope. You might say, "This season is hard, but it will not last forever." That confession keeps your spirit alive. It reminds you that your current chapter is not the whole story. There is also a spiritual dimension to speaking faith. When you align your words with God's promises, you are cooperating with His work in your life. Faith creates expectation, and expectation prepares you to receive. If you speak defeat, you unconsciously prepare yourself to fail. But if you speak victory, you position your heart to recognize and step into opportunities when they come. Ultimately, speaking faith is a daily choice. It requires discipline because your emotions may try to control your words. Fear may whisper, "Say it's over." Discouragement may suggest, "Admit defeat." But faith stands up and declares, "God is still working." My story is not finished. It is choosing to agree with hope rather than despair, with promise rather than pressure. When you begin to consistently speak faith, something shifts inside you. You walk differently. You pray differently. You expect differently. Your circumstances may not change overnight, but your spirit becomes strong. And a strong spirit can carry you through any storm until the breakthrough comes. How can changing your confession influence your future outcomes? This question touches the deep connection between what you say and what you eventually experience. Many people underestimate the power of their own words. They think words are light, temporary, and meaningless. But in reality, words are powerful. They shape your thoughts, guide your decisions, influence your emotions, and ultimately determine the direction of your life. Your confession is more than casual speech. It is the consistent declaration of what you believe. When you repeatedly say something, Whether positive or negative, your mind begins to accept it as truth. If you constantly confess failure, I'm not good enough, I always lose, nothing works out for me, your subconscious mind starts aligning your behavior with those statements. You begin to act cautiously, avoid risks, and miss opportunities because deep inside, you expect failure. On the other hand, when you change your confession to align with faith and possibility, you begin to reshape your inner world. If you declare, I am capable, I can grow, I will overcome, you gradually build confidence. That confidence changes how you approach challenges. Instead of withdrawing, you step forward. Instead of quitting early, you persist. Over time, these small changes in action produce very different results. Your confession also affects your emotional atmosphere. Negative words create a climate of fear and discouragement. Positive, faith-filled words create hope and expectation. Imagine waking up every morning saying, "Today will be terrible." You will move through the day with tension and negativity. But if you say, "Today is an opportunity, something good can happen," your attitude shifts. You become more open, more alert, and more willing to engage. That openness often leads to better experiences. There is also a relational impact. The way you speak influences how others respond to you. If you constantly confess doubt and pessimism, people may hesitate to support your ideas. But if your confession reflects confidence and vision, others are more likely to believe in you. Leaders, entrepreneurs, and successful individuals often speak with conviction about their goals long before those goals are achieved. Their words inspire trust and cooperation, which helps bring those goals into reality. Changing your confession also strengthens resilience. Life will always bring challenges. If your default confession is defeat, you will crumble quickly under pressure. But if your confession is, "I can learn from this setback will not stop me," you build endurance. Your words remind you that obstacles are temporary. That mindset keeps you moving forward when others give up. Furthermore, confession reinforces focus. When you repeatedly declare your goals and beliefs, you program your mind to notice opportunities connected to them. For example, if you confess, "I am building a successful future," your brain becomes more attentive to ideas, connections, and strategies that support that vision. It's not magic, it's alignment. Your thoughts, words, and actions begin to move in the same direction. Changing your confession does not instantly remove every problem. However, it changes how you face those problems. It transforms you from a passive victim into an active participant in your own growth. Instead of reacting to circumstances, you begin shaping them through deliberate thought and speech. In the long run, your life tends to follow the pattern of your strongest, most repeated words. When you consistently confess faith, hope, growth, and determination, your behavior gradually reflects those beliefs. That new behavior produces new habits. New habits produce new results, and those results shape a new future. So changing your confession is not a small adjustment, it is a powerful decision that influences your mindset, your relationships, your persistence, and your opportunities. Over time, it can completely transform the direction and quality of your life. Why is expectation important when believing for miracles? This question reveals a powerful spiritual principle. Expectation creates the environment where miracles can happen. Many people pray, but they do not expect. They ask, but deep inside they doubt. Their lips move, but their hearts are uncertain. True expectation is different. It is a confident anticipation that something good is about to happen because God is faithful. Expectation is the language of faith. When you truly believe, you begin to look forward to the answer even before you see it. Imagine a farmer who plants seeds in the soil. He does not wake up the next morning digging up the ground to check if anything is happening. He expects growth. He waters the field, protects it, and prepares for harvest because he trusts the process. In the same way, when you believe for a miracle, expectation keeps you steady while the unseen work is taking place. Without expectation, prayer becomes empty routine. You may repeat words, but you do not prepare your heart to receive. For example, if someone prays for new opportunities but never updates their skills, never prepares their resume, and never steps out to apply, they are not expecting change. Expectation always produces action. It motivates you to get ready for what you are believing for. If you are expecting healing, you begin to thank God in advance. If you are expecting provision, you manage what you already have with gratitude and wisdom. Expectation also changes your emotional state. When you expect nothing, discouragement easily takes over. Every delay feels like rejection. But when you live with expectation, delay feels temporary. You may not know the exact timing, but you trust that something is moving behind the scenes. This hope strengthens your heart. It gives you the endurance to keep praying, keep believing, and keep standing firm. There is also a psychological dimension to expectation. What you expect influences what you notice. If you expect failure, you will quickly see every small mistake as confirmation that you were right. But if you expect breakthrough, you will recognize small improvements as signs of progress. Expectation tunes your perception. It trains your mind to focus on possibility rather than limitation. Moreover, expectation honors God. It reflects trust in His character. When you expect Him to act, you are saying, I believe you are good. I believe you are able. I believe your promises are true. This kind of faith brings confidence into your prayers. Instead of begging in fear, you approach with assurance. That assurance brings peace. Even before the answer arrives, expectation does not mean demanding a specific outcome in your exact timing. It means trusting that the best answer will come at the right moment. Sometimes the miracle looks different from what you imagined. Sometimes it arrives in a surprising way. But a heart full of expectation remains open and grateful, ready to receive whatever form the blessing takes. Living with expectation transforms your daily life. You wake up with anticipation instead of anxiety. You speak with hope instead of doubt. You prepare for opportunities instead of assuming disappointment. This posture of faith positions you to step into doors when they open. In the end, expectation is not just about receiving miracles. It is about becoming the kind of person who believes in them. It keeps your spirit alive, your vision clear, and your heart ready. When expectation and faith work together, they create a powerful atmosphere where breakthroughs are not only possible, they become inevitable in their proper time. What is the difference between delay and denial in God's timing? This question is very important because many people lose hope simply because they misunderstand the silence or the waiting season in their lives. When something does not happen immediately, the human mind quickly concludes that it will never happen. But there is a great difference between something being delayed and something being denied. Delay means the answer is on its way, but the timing is not yet right. Denial means the request will not be granted in the way you expected. The problem is that when we experience delay, we often interpret it as denial. We assume that because we cannot see movement, nothing is happening. But in many situations, unseen preparation is taking place. Think about growth in nature. When a seed is planted in the ground, it does not produce fruit the next day. There is a hidden process beneath the soil. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. The seed is transforming before it ever breaks through the surface. If someone judged the process too early, they might say, nothing is happening. But in reality, everything is happening in the invisible realm. Delay does not mean failure, it means development. In life, delay often serves a purpose. Sometimes you are not yet ready for what you are asking for. Character may need to grow. Wisdom may need to increase. Skills may need to be sharpened. If the blessing arrived too soon, it might overwhelm you or even harm you. Waiting seasons build maturity. They teach patience, discipline, and trust. These qualities prepare you to handle the very thing you are praying for. Delay also strengthens faith. When everything happens instantly, faith remains shallow. But when you must stand firm over time, your belief becomes deeper and stronger. You learn to trust beyond feelings. You learn to remain confident even when circumstances do not change immediately. That kind of faith is stable. It is not shaken by temporary setbacks. On the other hand, denial can sometimes be protection. There are moments when what you ask for is not aligned with your long-term good. At the time, it may feel disappointing. You may not understand why the door closed. But later, with perspective, you may realize that what seemed like rejection was actually redirection. A closed door can save you from pain you could not foresee. The key difference between delay and denial often lies in trust. When you trust God's wisdom, you do not panic during delay. You understand that timing is part of the promise. Just because the answer is not immediate does not mean it is impossible. Some breakthroughs require preparation not only in you, but also in circumstances around you. Other people may need to move. Situations may need to align. Opportunities may need to mature. Impatience can cause people to give up too soon. They stop praying. They stop believing. They stop preparing. But if they had continued a little longer, they might have seen the breakthrough. Delay tests perseverance. It asks whether you truly believe or whether you only believe when results are instant. Understanding this difference brings peace. Instead of interpreting every silence as rejection, you'll begin to rest in confidence. You continue to grow, to serve, to prepare, and to hope. You trust that what is meant for you will arrive at the proper time. And if something does not happen the way you expected, you trust that something better is being arranged. Delay refines you, denial redirects you. Both can work for your growth when you respond with faith instead of fear. When you embrace this perspective, waiting no longer feels like wasted time. It becomes a season of preparation, positioning you for the right opportunity at the right moment. How do your words act like seeds in shaping your life? This question reveals a powerful principle about human behavior, mindset, and spiritual growth. Just as seeds planted in soil eventually produce a harvest, the words you consistently speak eventually produce results in your character, your decisions, and your circumstances. Words may seem invisible and temporary, but they carry influence that grows over time. When a farmer plants a seed, he understands that the harvest will reflect what was sown. If he plants wheat, he expects wheat, not corn. In the same way, your daily speech plants seeds into your mind and heart. If you continually say, "I am incapable," "nothing works for me," or "I always fail," you are planting seeds of limitation. Over time, those statements shape your self-image. They influence your confidence and determine how you approach challenges. Words first take root internally. What you repeatedly declare becomes part of your belief system. Your brain is designed to reinforce what it hears often. If you constantly speak negative thoughts, your mind begins searching for evidence to support them. Small setbacks become proof of failure. Minor mistakes become confirmation of inadequacy. In this way, your words create a mental environment where doubt grows easily. On the other hand, if you intentionally plant seeds of faith, hope, and determination, you cultivate a different inner atmosphere. When you say, "I am learning," "I can improve," "I will overcome," you begin to nurture resilience. These words do not deny difficulties, but they refuse to let difficulty define your identity. Over time, such declarations strengthen courage and increase your willingness to persevere. Words also influence your actions. What you believe about yourself affects what you attempt. A person who constantly says, "I am not good with opportunities," may avoid applying for new positions or starting new projects. But someone who declares, "I am growing and capable," is more likely to take risk and explore possibilities. Those actions lead to new experiences, which eventually shape future outcomes. In this way, words indirectly create opportunities. Additionally, words shape relationships. If you speak criticism, negativity, and hopelessness, you may push people away. But if your speech carries encouragement and optimism, others feel uplifted around you. Positive communication builds trust and cooperation. Over time, strong relationships open doors that negativity would have closed. The harvest of words does not appear instantly. Just as seeds require time, sunlight, and care, the impact of speech develops gradually. That is why consistency matters. One positive statement cannot cancel years of negative confession, but daily intentional speech can slowly transform your mindset and direction. Small verbal habits, repeated over months and years, lead to significant internal change. It is also important to understand that seeds multiply. A single apple seed can produce a tree that yields many apples, each containing more seeds. Likewise, one belief can multiply into many related thoughts and behaviors. If you plant the belief that you are capable, that belief can grow into courage, discipline, and persistence. Those qualities produce success, which then reinforces the original belief. Being mindful of your words means taking responsibility for what you plant. Before speaking, you can ask yourself, is this building me up or tearing me down? Is this preparing me for growth or reinforcing fear? By choosing words carefully, you intentionally shape the direction of your life. Ultimately, your speech is not just sound, it is sowing. Each day you are planting something in the soil of your future. When you consistently plant seeds of faith, hope, and confidence, you create conditions for a harvest of strength, opportunity, and growth. In what ways can trials and challenges strengthen your faith instead of weaken it? This is a question that touches every human life because no one escapes difficulty. Trials are not optional, they are part of the journey. The real difference is not whether you face challenges, but how you respond to them. The same storm that destroys one person can develop another. The same fire that burns can also refine. When approached with the right mindset, trials do not crush faith, they deepen it. First, challenges reveal what is already inside you. When life is comfortable, it is easy to say you believe. But when pressure comes, your true foundation becomes visible. Trials expose fear, doubt, impatience, and pride. At first, that exposure may feel uncomfortable. However, awareness is the beginning of growth. When weaknesses surface, you have the opportunity to address them. In this way, trials act like a mirror, helping you see where your faith needs strengthening. Second, difficulties teach dependence. In seasons of success, people often rely on their own abilities. Confidence can slowly turn into self-sufficiency. But when a problem arises that cannot be solved by human strength alone, you are pushed to seek help beyond yourself. That dependence builds humility and trust. Instead of saying, "I can handle everything," you learn to say, "I need guidance, wisdom, and strength." This shift deepens your spiritual maturity. Trials also develop endurance. Faith that has never been tested remains fragile. It may collapse at the first sign of opposition. But when you go through hardship and continue standing, your faith becomes stable. Every challenge you survive becomes evidence that you can survive the next one. You begin to remember past victories. You remind yourself, "I overcame before, and I will overcome again." That memory strengthens confidence for the future. Another powerful way trials strengthen faith is by reshaping priorities. In comfortable seasons, it is easy to become distracted by superficial goals. But hardship often clarifies what truly matters. Relationships, integrity, character, and inner peace become more valuable than temporary success. This clarity helps you build a life on deeper foundations rather than shifting circumstances. Challenges also teach patience. Growth rarely happens instantly. When you face a long season of difficulty, you learn perseverance. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active endurance with hope. You continue working, praying, and believing even when results are slow. Over time, this discipline transforms your character. You become less reactive and more grounded. Instead of panicking at every obstacle, you remain steady. Furthermore, trials can expand compassion. When you experience pain, you become more understanding toward others who struggle. You develop empathy. You listen more carefully. You encourage more sincerely. Your faith becomes not only personal, but also relational. You are able to support others because you have walked through similar valleys. It is important to understand that strengthening faith does not mean ignoring pain. Trials can hurt deeply. There may be tears, confusion, and moments of doubt. But even in those moments, growth is possible. When you choose to keep believing despite uncertainty, your faith becomes resilient. It moves beyond emotion and becomes a deliberate commitment. Finally, challenges often prepare you for greater responsibility. The strength you build in private struggles equips you for future opportunities. Just as muscles grow stronger under resistance, faith grows stronger under pressure. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable because you have developed inner stability. In the end, trials are not meant to destroy you, but to develop you. They refine character, deepen trust, build endurance, and shape perspective. When you view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than signs of defeat, your faith emerges stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than before.